slight sting as the dagger grazed his skin quickly reminded him of the original sting that got him here in the first place. He remembered the spider and being bitten before he had even realized it. He remembered looking into his best friend's father's eyes and seeing a true mentor, not an enemy. He remembered being normal and not having Spider-Man senses and having life living to the fullest before things went downhill for him at that point. He remembered all these things, and before he knew it, he quickly snapped back into it and defeated the Green Goblin before he could be attacked. You've probably already pieced this together. I'm not talking about any ordinary human. I'm actually talking about the Amazing Spider-Man. Here at the International Conference of Superheroes, today we have Superman speaking about his most recent victory over Dr. Octopus. Now, most of you probably don't know this, but when I was a little girl, I grew up in the apartment right next to Spider-Man. So I would see him swing by on the evenings after he had completed his adventures, and we would always have these little chats on our adjacent balconies. The thing that he always did tell me is that no matter what, I would always be safe because he was always just a string of web away. Now, I know all of you could have chosen to be somewhere else, but you chose to come to this international conference to hear a speaker that was so influential to you. I know that he is your hero because you are here today. He saved you in some way, shape, or form because he either defeated the villain that was in the city and you were a part of that city, or you were in another city and he prevented that villain from coming out and getting you. He is your hero, and he is mine as well. Now, before I introduce him to you, I'm going to take you back on a little journey. That way we can remember some of his two most memorable battles. The first is the battle against the Green Goblin, and the second is against his son, Harry, who tried to avenge his father's death. I'll first start off with the story of how Spider-Man beat the Green Goblin. When Spider-Man was little, he had a little friend. His best friend was Harry Osborn, son of Norman Osborn. They were best friends up until their late teen years when they both fell in love with one girl, and her name was Mary Jane. Now you can see that this is a problem when two men fall in love with the same woman, so as you can probably predict, their relationship started to disintegrate. And they were no longer friends after this. So Spider-Man started to notice something about Harry's father. And he noticed that his father was going out late at night and not coming back in until early mornings. And so he listened to his spidey senses and he followed him. This was all while a new villain was out on the town. So when Spider-Man followed Mr. Osborn one night, he found out that he was the villain. He was the Green Goblin terrifying the city. So the Green Goblin and Spider-Man had numerous battles before things were brought to an end in an old abandoned house north of the city. When they were battling, the Green Goblin was throwing daggers at Spider-Man and he was beating him to the point where he had no fight left in him. As Spider-Man lay on the ground, he had the last bit of effort in him, and he knew that he had one thing that he could do to defeat the Green Goblin. He saw the remote laying on the ground, quickly grabbed it, and thought, if I press go, the Green Goblin's ship will careen into him and kill him instantly. As the seconds ticked down and the Green Goblin took more steps toward him, he quickly pressed the go button, and the Green Goblin's vehicle careened into him and killed the Goblin immediately. The next day, the city cheered for Spider-Man, for they knew that there was no more horror inside the city. So as the story continues, I'll now go on to the next point about how this affected Harry, which was Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin's son. So as you can predict that Harry, he was very distraught after his father's death. So he decided to go into counseling and therapy for approximately about a year. While he was in therapy, Spider-Man and Mary Jane continued their relationship, but it never progressed fully. When Harry came back, he approached Spider-Man and told him that he would never forgive him for killing his father. Right then, Spider-Man knew something was wrong. The therapy hadn't worked, and he knew that something was gonna happen. Soon enough, the next morning, Spider-Man awoke to hearing screams from the city and then begging for Spider-Man to come save them. As he walked out onto his balcony in his Spider-Man suit, he saw the Green Goblin flying around on a new saucer. Only Spider-Man knew that this was Harry trying to avenge his father's death. Just like his father, Harry and Spider-Man had numerous battles between the both of them, but Harry controlled other villains, like the Sandman, that he decided that he needed to use to kill Spider-Man. Spider-Man's most horrific battle was between the Sandman, because this took almost a year for him to defeat him, but in the end he was able to defeat the Sandman. On the last battle between Harry and Spider-Man, they fought for quite the amount of time, but eventually Harry surrendered and told him that he was tired of fighting his best friend. So as you can see, Spider-Man has had some very tough battles in the past, but his most recent victory over Dr. Octopus is the real reason we are here today. He fought against the Green Goblin and defeated him by a simple touch of a button. He fought against his best friend and eventually had his best friend surrender to his feet. He fought against his best friend's villains, but prevailed every single time. Every single one of you came from different countries all over the entire world, and you came here for one reason, and that was to see and hear an inspiring tale of Spider-Man, your hero and my hero. He may have affected you directly with you being in the city, and he may have saved you personally, or it may have been indirectly, and you may have been in a separate city where the villain was prevented from entering your city. But either way, he is your hero, and he is my hero. He will always remember the bite that put him in the place where he is today, saving millions of people. But he will always remember the faces of every single person he saved even more. So please help me welcome the Amazing Spider-Man to the stage.